Hi, this is David Dickens, and today we are covering two different listener questions. James is asking about starting Social Security at 62. You might be amazed how many times I get that question in my office. And then Barry wants to talk through life insurance. Seems to think he has a lot of it and wants to know whether he should cancel some of it. So I think these two will be pretty interesting. Hopefully they are. I'll go get Walter and we'll get started.
Back for another episode of Cover Your Assets KC, the show that helps you plan for your financial and retirement future. I'm Walter Storholt alongside David Dickens, of course, the person to turn to if you need some guidance when it comes to your financial plan. Based in Kansas City, the Overland Park area, but serving clients all across the country. You can find David online very easily at coveryourassetskc.com. And we've got a fun listener question version of our show today, but I don't know, David, should we touch on it when times are good? I feel like we should still touch on it when times are bad. Last time we talked, we had high hopes for the old Chiefs, but
we could have skipped over that whole thing.
I know.
But you know what? So it was really funny. The last podcast didn't get posted. I don't think it got posted until the Monday after the Super Bowl, but it was supposed to be posted the Thursday before Super Bowl. So it might have confused a few people when we had the picture of Andy Reid holding up the Super Bowl trophy. Oh, well, you know what? The three-peat didn't quite happen.
I still thought it was a helpful and good episode, and Andy Reid is a winner no matter what the most recent result might have said, right? So
exactly. And who knows? Hopefully he learned a lot of things from this year's Super Bowl.
Just like our listeners learned a lot of lessons, I think.
That's right, and maybe some more today.
Yes, excellent. Well, David, let's get into our listener questions today. We've got two really good ones from James and Barry to tackle. Who's up first, and what's the question?
Well, we're going to do James first, and he seems to think that his question is, should I start my Social Security at 62 to help pay off my house before I retire? I get this type of question a lot in my office, so I thought this was a good one to handle today. And James, we're going to say some pretty interesting stuff in the next 5 or 10 minutes, but none of it is advice specifically for you. And I think especially because there are so many variables that go into when you should start Social Security. But my answer, high level, is you should probably not start your Social Security at 62 to pay off your house before you retire. Probably not. So I went into my Social Security Analyzer software. That's the name of the company that produces the software that we use. And James, I just put in a scenario that I thought might be kind of similar to you so that you could actually see some pretty much real life numbers. So I entered a person who is your age. They turned 62 today. Now, I don't know how much your Social Security is going to be at age 62, but I said that at your full retirement age, which is going to be 67, that you'd be getting $3,000 a month, and that your spouse, exactly the same age as you are, was going to be getting $1,200 a month because she was a full-time mom and she didn't work much outside the home. So, James, here's how that lays out. I told the software that there was going to be a 2.5% cost of living increase every year. And some of our listeners would know this, but the cost of living increase benefits not only those people who are currently getting Social Security, but everybody who is age 62 or more who could be getting Social Security but haven't yet started yet. So, James, while you wait, you'll benefit from these cost of living increases, and that's why the numbers I'm getting ready to tell you might sound a little bit different. So if you started right now, you have to take a discount if you want to start early, and that's 8% a year that you have to give up to start early. So instead of getting $3,000 a month, if you start now, you get roughly $2,113 a month. And your wife, instead of getting half of what you would get, she would get just barely over $1,000. So you both start early, you both take a significant discount. So let's just focus on yours though, James. $2,113 a month. If you waited to full retirement age, that's about $3,350 a month. Big difference. $1,250 a month difference if you wait. But you might say, well, yeah, Dave, but I'm going to be getting that $2,113 every month for 5 years while I wait to get to 67. So won't I be building up a nice little reservoir And the answer is yes, you would be, and you might pay off that mortgage with it. But, so the software says that by the time you're 67, if you had started early, you'd have 180 grand that you would have taken out of Social Security just by starting early. The problem is that by the time you turn 76, you would have made up that 180 grand. So that's your break-even point. And then by the time you reach when you're 62, your life expectancy as a male is kind of 84 to 85 years old. By the time you reach your life expectancy, you'd be almost $225,000 ahead if you wait to your full retirement age instead of taking it early. So, James, if we knew when you were going to die, then this question would be really easy to answer. If we knew you were going to die at 74, well, we'd say start early. If we knew you were going to die after age 76, we'd say, well, the numbers are in your favor to start late. If you live to age 90, you have an extra $342,000 by starting at your full retirement age. So the other thing to consider here, James, is if you die first, which, in America is super likely that you're going to die before your spouse does, especially if she's the same age as you. If you take your Social Security, so when you die, she gets the biggest of the two, but in this case, she'd get yours, but she would lose hers. So she only gets to keep one. If you start early, your monthly amount at that 2.5% cost of living increase is a little over $3,500 a month on your 85th birthday when we're supposing that you might die. But if you waited to your full retirement age, instead of $3,500 a month, you'd be getting $5,000 a month. So when you die, instead of her getting $3,500 a month, she gets $5,000 a month going forward, plus cost of living increase. That's a big, big difference for a widow who may have other kind of limited sources of income. So this is why I say it's a complicated question you've asked, but chances are really good that your best choice is to wait at least until full retirement age. If you waited all the way to age 70, so 3 years past your full retirement age, that's going to be even more money. But I did a little break even there. The difference between taking it your full retirement age and age 70 would be you'd be ahead by a little less than 60 grand at age 85. So not nearly the difference that it would be by waiting from age 62 to age 67. So a couple more things to think about, James, here are, if you're working and your company has a 401k, and maybe, I hope, you're maxing that baby out every paycheck. If your mortgage is troubling you, then one thing you might want to consider, not specific advice to you, is let's say that your company matches the first 5 or 6% of what you put in, but you're putting in way more than that. Maybe you back that amount down to just get the match, and the extra, which you had been putting in your 401k, you use that to pay down your mortgage faster and still wait until you get to be 67 to take your Social Security. And then finally, and I've mentioned this in a number of podcasts over the last couple of years because it comes up quite often in conversation. James, if you have a low fixed rate mortgage, it's possible that you want to do nothing except keep making that payment and carry that low fixed rate mortgage into retirement. There's a little bit of math that goes around that, but that's a seed I would want to plant for you, and check it out. Either if you're a fantastic do-it-yourselfer, then figure it out yourself. If you need a little help from a guy like me, you're welcome to call me or somebody get a good referral from somebody you know. But this is a great time. You're probably getting close to age 62, or else you wouldn't have asked the question the way you asked it. So I'd encourage you to get some really good advice pretty darn soon, and then make the right decision that's best for you and your family.
It's a really good question, and like you said, David, one that you get all the time, and so it's great that we were able to highlight it so deeply on the show today. This goes for you, of course, James, or anybody else in a similar situation. If you want to have that conversation with David and the team, it's very easy to get in touch. Lots of ways to connect with us on the website, linked in the description of today's show. It's coveryourassets.kc.com. coveryourassetskc.com. You can also call the old-fashioned way. Some people still prefer that, 913-317-1414. You can ask your questions in a more one-on-one way with David and the team. 913-317-1414, again, is that number to call. All right, David, we've got our second question of the episode from Barry. Barry says, I have life insurance through my job, a term life policy that's good for another 12 years, and a whole life policy that I bought several years ago. Do I really need all this life insurance, or should I cancel it?
So, Barry, you've asked a great question. Life insurance is just an expense until you need it. And then it's been a good investment in the financial future for the people you leave behind. So let's see, you say that your term policy is good for another 12 years. I'm then going to make an assumption that maybe 8 years ago, you bought a 20-year fixed premium term life insurance policy that ends on or about your retirement age. So I'm guessing you're retiring in about 12 years. You've still got a good job you like, and you've got a whole life policy, which I can't possibly analyze on a call like this, but you ought to have somebody take a look at it to make sure that it is still right for you. But the way I would go about taking a look at this, if I were you, Barry, is how much of an insurable interest do you have? In other words, what income would you need to have replaced? Would the people you leave behind, how much income would they need to have replaced? And for how long if you were to die next week? So the things that come to mind are, do you have a mortgage that you'd like to have paid off? Do you have kids in high school or college? Maybe you have a special needs child who's going to have special needs for a lot of years after you're gone. Maybe you have a non-working spouse, a spouse that doesn't work outside the home, and that's going to leave a big income gap if you were to die next week. So Barry, I don't know how old you are. You're maybe early 50s, kind of based on your good for another 12-year comment. I don't know how long you want to work. I don't know how much you've saved for retirement. Life insurance that you get through your job is usually more expensive if you're in a low-risk category. Like, for instance, you're a non-smoker, you have moderate weight, you're in good health, you don't take a bunch of meds. So maybe that term life insurance policy through work can be gotten cheaper if you apply for it on your own. So that's one idea for you. The best idea I have for you, Barry, is, and we've mentioned this website in the past when it comes to life insurance, Bankrate.com. So if you just Google Bankrate.com life insurance calculator, it will take you to what I think is one of the better calculators on the internet, because it doesn't try to sell you anything. And it does a nice job of asking you the questions. It would say, well, how much life insurance do I really need? So, Barry, I went and did this for you, for somebody like you, and I'm looking at it right now. And so it asks questions like, for instance, well, the first question it asks is, how much will you need for burial expenses? It fills in $8,000, and I said $8,000 is probably right. The bigger questions are yet to come. It says, well, how many years of income will you need to cover? I said, 12 more years. You're 12 years away from retirement. How much annual net income after tax will your survivors need? I said, because I don't know anything about you, $100,000 a year. How much money have you saved for in savings and investment accounts? I said, $500,000. That would mean you're a little bit behind in your 401k, but those are really important numbers to determine how much insurable interest you have. Then it says, do you have any children? I put in 2. It says, well, how old is the first child? I said 14. How old is the second child? I said 16. How much is needed for future college expenses per child? I'm figuring, Barry, that if you're gone, your kids probably aren't going to go to Harvard or Yale or Baylor or TCU. They're probably going to go to a state university, and that's going to be about maybe $25,000 a year. So I said that your kids will need $100,000 for the future, for future college. And then it asks, the calculator that I'm looking at says, are there any one-time expenses you'd wish for? And I said, yeah, how about if we pay off the mortgage? And I said the mortgage was $325,000. So with all of that built into this calculator, it comes up, knowing roughly how old you are, how much your income your survivors need, what your kid's situation is. It says that you need $1,040,580.03 worth of life insurance. So, Barry, the important thing to me is that you or anybody else listening to this that has the same question, how much life insurance do I need? You would get on 1, 2, or maybe 3 of these calculators. And you're going to get a dispersion. Maybe one calculator says 800 grand. This one says $1 million. You might have another one that says $1.3 million. But at least then you'll have it kind of bracketed. You'll know, well, it ought to be kind of between this and that, and I only have this, or I have twice what these calculators say. And at that point, you have a really good starting point to decide, do I have too much? Do I have too little? And then you can think about things like, should I have whole life or term? Should I use the insurance that's offered through my company, or should I go apply for some on my own? And types of things like that. There are some really good websites that you can do term insurance directly. If you go through an advisor or a broker, for instance, at my office, we do term. We also do whole life and other things, but we do life insurance for people. And you'd be amazed sometimes how it's all very competitive these days. And so whether you're a do-it-yourselfer or you want a little bit of help trying to figure it out, the reason that life insurance is so cheap, term life insurance is so cheap, is because it's very unlikely that you're going to die in your 40s, 50s, 60s. But if you're the one who does, it is really important to the people you leave behind to make sure that you've covered that base. So like your car insurance, like your homeowner's insurance, it's insurance you really don't hope to have to claim on. But when it does happen to you, you and or the people you leave behind are going to understand how really, really important it is to not only have some, but have the right amount. So, Barry, you're asking the right questions, and you just need a little bit of help getting to the right answer. And I wish you very well. And if I were you, I would do that today or tomorrow or the next day, but I wouldn't wait till next month or 6 months from now.
Would it be a fair comparison to say that life insurance is kind of like TVs? They've come down nicely in price over the last decade or so.
They have, and a lot of that is because we're getting healthier, medicines are getting better, and we're living longer. And so the life insurance companies aren't giving you a break because they like you. They're giving all of us a break because our probability of dying in our 40s, 50s, 60s is less than it was 50 years ago and 40 years ago and 30 years ago. So take action now. Don't wait. You won't be happy because you're going to be gone. If you collect on this, you're going to be...
You want to be wrong on this one, right?
Exactly.
You don't want to need it.
But if you're right, your heirs, the people you leave behind are going to be really happy that you took care of this.
If you have questions like we answered on today's show, and it's interesting too that the mortgage conversation popped back up in this question as well, very similar to James's question earlier on a totally different topic, but look at how the mortgage question kind of layered itself into both of these. That just illustrates what happens when you put together a true plan or go through a true comprehensive and complete planning review, which is the name of the CPR process that David and the team take you through when it's time to prepare for retirement and your financial future. You just start to see how all these things layer on top of each other, and the plan takes care of all of it and makes sure that no stone is left unturned. And so if you want to go through that kind of planning process or just ask a simple question that might be on your mind, honestly, that's how a lot of these conversations begin, just like today's show. So if you have those on your mind, you want to get in touch, it's very easy to do that. All the contact information is in the description of today's show. You can go to coveryourassetskc.com or call 913-317-1414. David, thank you so much for the help on today's show. Really enjoyed the conversation with you and really looking forward to 2 weeks from now when we have another new topic on the docket.
I'm looking forward to that as well. I love these because they're real life stuff. And so we'll have something good cooked up for 2 weeks from now. Walter, I'll talk to you then.
Sounds like a good plan. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time on Cover Your Assets, KC. Advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth, LLC, an investment advisor. KC Financial Advisors and Creative One Wealth, LLC are not affiliated. We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. The information and opinions contained in this program have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are given for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. The information is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. This material has been provided by a licensed insurance professional for informational and educational purposes only and is not endorsed or affiliated with the Social Security Administration or any government agency. It is not intended to provide and should not be relied upon for accounting, legal, tax, or investment advice.